Welcome to Boogie Mama Riffs. Today we're going to be doing a rankings for Sabbath's first 10 albums. As most of you have probably seen over YouTube, Sabbath just did their last ever concert called Back to the Beginning, and with other bands like Metallica and Pantera, etc. And if you haven't checked that out, I don't have it on my channel, but go have a look at it. It's the last time we're ever going to see these guys, I reckon. But yeah, I thought it would be a good idea to do the Sabbath rankings now, just after they've done their very last ever concert. So I've ranked the albums from least best to best. That's the nicest way to say it. So out of the 10 albums, my last album on the rankings for Sabbath would be Heaven and Hell. I guess I'm not going to go through every track on every one. Maybe at a later date I might do different track listings, but for me, Heaven and Hell is probably the last on the list. You know, Ronnie James Dio was great. He came in and saved the band, but I just think, you know, I've been reading Geezer Butler's book recently called Into the Void. Highly recommend it. And he himself, I think, basically said, you know, why did they still call it Sabbath after Ozzy left? Because it wasn't Sabbath. But anyway, it was a little bit different. But for me, nothing wrong with it. Just that number 10 for me is Heaven and Hell. I like Children of the Sea, Die Young, and Neon Nights, songs like that. They were just great. But you could just, the man had just really changed. You know, Bill was playing more in the pocket, like a straight beat sort of, rather than always over the tom playing. The next one is number 9, Sabotage. Now that's an angry album. I like the album. I like Symptom of the Universe, and some of the others has some great moments in it, I feel, but almost, for me, Sabotage, I don't know, it was like the band was going through illegal battles, and I just think, you know, it almost sounded like Ozzy and the band were going a little bit insane themselves because of all their trials and tribs. So that's what came across in that album to me, was that, you know, Sabbath were almost doing great music, but it was a bit sort of angry, and it was almost like they were going insane and putting it on an album. That's the only way I can explain it. But yeah, it's still a good album. Number 8 for me will be Never Say Die. Some people reckon that would be their least favourite Sabbath album. For me, Never Say Die, I don't mind it. It's you know, it's got the title track, Never Say Die. Hard Road, I believe, that's one of my favourite songs. And yeah, I highly recommend people, maybe if you want, go back and check that out if you haven't heard the whole album of Never Say Die, because it's severely underrated. So I'd recommend giving that a list. There's a song called Over to You, which is a rare find on there, and it sounds a little bit like almost solo Ozzy in a way. Number 7 is Technical Ecstasy. Yeah, another one that's probably not that popular with some people, because Sabbath was sort of in the late 70s, were coming towards an end, and apparently Tony Iommi confessed that he was getting a bit of doing, you know, so many guitars in the production. But I like Technical Ecstasy. I like All Moving Parts Stand Still, Dirty Women, Rock and Roll Doctor, and I believe that's the one where Bill is singing It's Alright as well. So yeah, it's not a bad album. Number 6 is Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. Their first album is number 6. I like it. It's very bluesy and jazzy, because that's what Sabbath were when they were called Earth, or the Polka Tot Blues Band. Sabbath were a blues band, and they were influenced by jazz. Bill Ward was a fan of Gene Krupa, so you can hear in songs like Warning and Evil Woman, songs like that. But this is where heavy metal was invented, this album, in some people's opinion. But I like The Wizard with the harmonica, Behind the Wall of Sleep, which, if I was going to do a deep dive into this, but I'll just touch on it today. You heard this first, I think, in Boogie Mama Riffs. Geezer Butler, in his book Into the Void, said that he actually dreamt that song, Behind the Wall of Sleep, and that was one of the first ones they wrote. Number 5, Paranoid, one of the most popular Sabbath album. Everyone knows it. One of the first CDs I ever bought. I used to literally tune my guitar to War Pigs. You know, that first note, that E, that boom, and I used to tune my guitar to it. So yeah, great album, great production by Roger Bain, and you know, they made a quantum leap from their first album to their second album. But for me, that's probably in the middle of my rankings. Next one, number 4. We're getting up there in the top 4 Sabbath ranking albums now. Number 4 is Master of Reality. Now this is where the band was getting sort of a little bit more indie, a little bit more cool, spending a bit more time on the songs. There were just some great riffs on there, like After Forever, and what was, just and Children of the Grave, where Tony Iommi, in a few of the songs, actually detuned his guitar for the first time down to 3 semitones down, which made the guitar lower and heavier because it was easier on his fingers. And my third top Sabbath album is Mob Rules. I know I put Heaven and Hell last, sorry, I just got back from America. I put Heaven and Hell last with Dio fronting Sabbath, but I put Mob Rules third top. It's a great album, and yeah, it have to be one of my faves there. That really, songs like Country Girl and Slipping Away with the bass solo, and yeah, it's just such a solid album. That Mob Rules. I remember someone said that Mob Rules sounds a bit more like an Iron Maiden album than a Sabbath album because they were using Iron Maiden's producer in the studio, or engineer, producer, sorry. So that's how that came about. And finally, number 2 in the Sabbath top 10 first album rankings. Number 2 for me, personally, this is just my opinion. You can write your own opinions in the comments below on your favourite rankings or whatever for Sabbath albums. For me, number 2 is Volume 4. Man, this was tough. I know Ralph Vera, he's got a cool channel. You should check him out, called Almost Human, and Ralph Vera would say, oh, that one hurts when you're trying to decide between these top 2 favourite ones. But for me, Volume 4 is the second top. Starting with Wheels of Confusion, that song is just ridiculously good. And some of the other ones like Snowblind and Under the Sun, like to start an album with Wheels of Confusion and then bookend it with Under the Sun, that was just, it's a classic album. They recorded it in LA. I just got back from LA myself, and yeah, I'd love to write and record an album there myself. No wonder it was so good. And finally, the number 1 of the top 10 Sabbath album rankings is Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, is what I would pick for my number 1 Sabbath album. Sabbath Bloody Sabbath just has everything, when you think about it. It has piano, it has flute, just awesome riffs. The riff Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is basically what they said this was the riff that saved Sabbath when Tony had writer's block, and they went from LA back to a castle in England and they wrote Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. And I really like some of the songs on there, like Looking for Today, and Fluff is another one. Just if you listen to Fluff, without any visuals, you're just sort of just sitting in a room or whatever and just listen to the song Fluff, and you can hear all the orchestral parts in it where they've added other instruments in. It just really is a solid album. So thank you for watching Boogie Mama Riffs. I'm going to bring something awesome to you next time. Let me know if you like these rankings, and I'll do another one on another band real soon. See you next time.